Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at the Hemorrhage mod again for the pistols. You asked and I answered. There was the Kuva Nukor as well as the Tombfinger I did not cover last time, and a lot of you left requests down in the comments for me to cover it. So taking a look at this mod one more time, it converts impact status effects into slash at a 35% ratio, basically an impact Hunter Munitions. So in the past day, I've managed to farm up another Kuva Nukor and get it to 60% with an impact focus. I had one previously, but I couldn't show it to you because that one was a magnetic, and that is the wrong elemental type for this build. We want to focus as much impact as possible so that we can force as much slash procs. You'll see here that the highest elemental weight is the impact stat on my Kuva Nukor at 76.6, but personally I don't feel like this is high enough, and you'll soon see why. We have viral here as well. I want it on a very low weight. You see 32.3 because this is a beam weapon. Beam weapons tick very often and quickly, and viral caps out at 10 procs. So once you get to 10, any extra viral procs are wasted. I also ran the 90% impact mod with 60% status chance to increase the weight of impact more, as well as pushing my status further since we want as much procs as possible. More procs equals more slash equals more damage. As always, I'm running the Hemorrhage mod because that's the whole focus on this build. And then I have barrel diffusion for that extra multiplier on my damage, as well as the crit mods and base damage. So let's spawn in our heavy gunners here. Whoops, I got a little bit stuck on the pillar there. Okay, so with the Kuva Nukor, I learned that you can shoot the head with it and you will get headshot multipliers and possibly extra damage, but when it changed to the enemies, it uses weapon damage and not the damage dealt. So for this test, I'm not going to shoot the head, as it makes it more difficult to determine the results. You can see that it doesn't really seem to be doing that much damage, and the slash procs are ticking up very slowly. It takes a lot to kill them, and this is because the slash procs aren't ticking up that fast, and I'm doing very little damage per hit. So overall, the slash procs just aren't really hitting that hard. Now in this test, I was actually pretty surprised because I was expecting more slash procs than you saw here. With the weighting shown, I was expecting it to reach probably about 15 to 20 slash procs a lot sooner, and I think there might actually be some weird error in the calculations going on the back end, but I'm honestly not too sure. Nevertheless, it was only missing about 1/3 of the procs I was expecting, so it wouldn't have really changed the outcome that much, and honestly the build was very underwhelming. Normally you would build a Kuva Nukor for viral heat, as shown here, and because this time you don't need to run Hemorrhage, you can slot in both viral and heat, so you have 3 slots for elements now instead of 2. Besides that, the build is pretty much the exact same. I have a little bit more status since I can actually afford to run the max ranked versions of the 60/60 mods, as I'm no longer worried about the impact weighting, and all I want is as much viral and heat procs as possible. So let's shoot them again. You'll see this time I'm procking heat just like when I wanted to proc slash, but it's going up way faster. Most of these I have say 40 to 50 procs going after about 1 second to 2 seconds of firing. This huge discrepancy between heat and the slash procs is the reason why this build is so much more effective. Heat doesn't ignore armor, but it does reduce it after a short delay of 1 second. All these procs allow you to do more damage, and because it doesn't have to fight against the whole armor scaling, it still does respectable amounts of damage. Now if we take a look back at the slash build, or should I say impact build, based on the weighting that I have there, it really doesn't do the damage that I expected. And this is because the mod only has a 35% conversion rate, so although it's the highest weighted elemental type on the build, it really just doesn't add up. Honestly, I was expecting it to do say 8 times less proc than the heat, so about 5 procs or plus, but you'll notice we were really struggling to get procs on it, saying only around 3 to 5, which is why I believe there might have been a couple errors on the back end. But it's just so obvious that the viral heat build is way better. Don't even bother making an impact Nukor. It just is not worth it. Stick to your viral heat. Now let's move on to our next weapon. The next weapon that you asked about was the Tombfinger, and this is another interesting unique build going on here. You'll see I do not have viral on this build, and there was a very strong reason why. Tombfinger as a secondary functions a lot like the primary in how you have a projectile that does damage on hit, as well as an explosion afterwards. However, the forced impact is only from the projectile hit itself, and that is the only component of the damage that will be scaled off of when considering slash DOTs from Hemorrhage. Therefore, we're only getting slash off half of the damage that we're dealing. This is fine because Hunter Munitions doesn't exist for pistol, so there's no way to actually take full advantage of both components of the shot. Now you'll see here that I did not build any 60/60s and went full damage. That is because this weapon only has 16% status and is a single shot with a single pellet. Therefore, it'd be very hard to proc viral on them, so instead I'm just going for pure slash without any extra damage amplification. On the other hand, I chose to slot on sharpened bullets, which I guess you could say is like a weaker version of viral because I'll get 75% extra critical damage so long as I'm aiming when I shoot after I get a kill. As long as I can get kills within 9 seconds, I can keep this effect up indefinitely. This is really handy because it serves a similar purpose to viral, albeit a lot weaker, but only using one mod slot instead of 2. There are no other elements that could have done this, especially single elements, which is why I resorted to this build. Additionally, you'll notice I'm not using Prime Pistol Gambit on this build, instead I was using Creeping Bullseye, and this is because of the secondary effect of the Hemorrhage mod. So long as you're under 2.5 fire rate, it has twice the effect. I wanted to run Lethal Torn on the build for the extra multi-shot so that you could get out more procs and more damage. But if I do this, I can't run Primed Pistol Gambit because it'll push me way up above 2.5 fire rate. As you can see here, when I slot these builds in, I'm all the way up at 3.47. So although I get an extra 0.1 multi-shot and a little bit extra damage, notice that majority of my damage on this build late game is going to be coming from the slash procs, which ignore armor and hit multiple times because DOTs tick multiple times. So losing my proc chance from 70 all the way down to 35% is a huge damage loss, and that is why it's better to build for Creeping Bullseye instead so you can preserve that 70% proc chance on slash. For my Arcane, I do have Pax Charge on right now, but honestly I'd rather run Pax Seeker if possible. You won't notice a huge benefit from this because it only procs off headshot kills, so you need to kill them directly with your Tombfinger itself, as the slash procs will not count and will not proc the effect. The weapon has a very big magazine size and the reload is still pretty fast, so that's why I don't really care about Pax Charge that much at all. I only have to shoot the head twice and it basically kills them with the slash DOTs. Just make sure you actually hit the head, as if you whiff too many shots it may not kill them. Orange procs are also a possibility here, and if you get that, it is basically a free kill with a single shot, but you can't guarantee it because the crit chance is a bit low. So another question you might have, obviously you can shoot the weapon a bit faster than I'm showing as it has 2.47 fire rate, but I just really want to emphasize these 2 hits on the headshots to show you how much damage is coming out of it. Obviously you can just spray at the body as well to get the extra damage and get more procs in, but with how slow firing this weapon is, I'd really just advocate focusing on the headshots. I mean, it can take out the heavy gunners in 2 shots, so basically every other unit is a single hit headshot and they're dead. Why not just take the time to aim like that instead? Now there was one more weapon that I want to include in this review, but I just couldn't get my hands on it in time and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the build for it. These are the Kuva twin Stubbos. Now you'll probably see this later from me today, as I haven't farmed this weapon out yet and I have pretty good ideas and it's showing a lot of promise on my paper DPS. Stay tuned for that upload later today. That's it for this video. If this was your first time watching, consider hitting that like button or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 66.9% of you are not subscribed to my channel. If you don't, you're probably going to miss out on all my future uploads concerning the mainline as well as Tempestari comes out. Who knows, maybe I'll find out some information you won't see anywhere else, right? Make sure you hit that button, you won't regret it. Thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.